What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a movie that's come out in theaters and now on VOD called Satanic Hispanics, and it's a anthology. Let's check it out. So Satanic Hispanics was kind of, buzzing a little bit a couple of months ago when it was in theaters for about 800 theaters across the United States. They basically did a small run. It's a movie that has been developed by Epic Pictures and, of course, Dread Central. And they give you folklore from Argentina, Cuba, Mexico. It's supposed to be Hispanic themed based on the Heritage Month that we just had for Hispanics, sort of anthology honoring that. We got a ton of different directors to give you a taste a little bit all over the world. And these are obviously some of the bigger names in the industry, or growing as they might be right now. Some have had their breakout movies here recently too. So there's 5 shorts that make up this entire film. The Wraparound, which starts off obviously, and then the other 4. Now, some of the directors involved in this are Mike Mendez, director Eduardo Sanchez, we got Demian Rugna, Gigi Saul Guerrero, and Alejandro Brujas. So these are all new talent, old talent, kind of Hispanic talent that has kind of blown up the horror scene in some way or another, all combined into this one anthology. What is it all about? Well, the Wraparound story is essentially about this guy who gets pulled in by the police to be asked questions about what is going on and how he got involved. The movie kicks off with sort of a event where these guys show up a little bit late, and the only remaining survivor is this guy who is the Traveler, and that is played by Efren Ramirez, who you may remember from Napoleon Dynamite or Crank 2. He's done a ton of stuff since then. Now, this one was directed by Mike Mendez, who, if you're familiar with him, he is The Convent, which is just getting a 4K release here recently from Synapse, which is one of my favorite films of his. And Don't Kill It was another one that was pretty popular with Dolph Lundgren. He gets help from Alejandro Mendez to write this. And this one's a pretty good wraparound that tells all these different stories to these police officers as the segments go on. And then, of course, wraps up at the very end with the finale. You also may notice one of Mike Mendez's other actors that he likes to have in there, and that's Greg Grunberg, who was one of the guys in Heroes. He's been in Big Ass Spider, which Mike Mendez did too, and a few other things. But this one I really liked. I actually thought was one of the better ones out of the bunch. As we know, anthologies are only as good as all of the pieces that fit into the anthology. It's tough to get all of them to be 100% perfect for everybody. This particular wraparound was pretty decent. It wasn't the best anthology wraparound I've seen before, but it was pretty fun. And I thought Efren did a really good job in this particular wraparound. So this short story, so to speak. Plus, I also thought it was a good device to use to tell all these different stories because it has the most lore to it, and it's really interesting about his character in this. So I really like that. And that should keep you going along through all the other different segments that you get. We also get Tambien Lovi, which is another segment that is directed by Demian Rugna, that a lot of Shudder fans love and appreciate because he did the movies Terrified and When Evil Lurks, which has been a pretty big success here this year. He has other films that I'm trying to get a hold of to do reviews of, and we even did an interview with him kind of discussing those 2 films. He's one of my favorite directors right now, so I was super excited to see what he had to show for this one. And this one actually is pretty good. I think this is one of the top ones because it deals with a guy who is a sort of like a Rubik's Cube guy who does all these like puzzles and things like that. And he's like really good at math. And he's somehow opened a doorway to the land of the dead. And he starts seeing crazy things and things get really out of control. But I think this was either my first or second favorite. I think it might be my first favorite one. So I'll give you the order of all these by the end. This also stars Demian Salomon, who's been in Terrified, who's been in When Evil Lurks, and a lot of his films. The third segment we get is El Vampiro, which is done by Eduardo Sanchez, who he basically did The Blair Witch and Exists and Altered, plenty of films since then. And we get a cameo actually in this one from Michael C. Williams, which if you remember from the Blair Witch Project, look out for him. He does a cameo in this one. I thought this one was a kind of a funnier version of what like a modern vampire would be. Apparently this is Halloween night and he gets to go out one night a year and just feed like crazy on everybody. So, but things don't turn out the way he wants and he's kind of gotten a little sloppy with what he does as he's aged. It was a fun one. It wasn't my favorite one of the bunch. There were some funny moments in the film that kind of made me laugh. The fourth segment we get is Nahales, which is director Gigi Saul Guerra, who is an actress, director, producer, writer. She's done a little bit of everything, and some of her movies are Bingo Hell and Rehome and a few other films that you might have heard of. This one I was not real fond of. It deals with some rituals and some guy running away from some sort of people who are dealing with some sort of supernatural power. You don't really know what's going on until the very end, and I just felt like, I don't know, there was a lot of suspense to it, but it felt like it just never really went anywhere for me. And I think this one might be my least favorite one of all of the different shorts, including the Wraparound. But you know, they've done some good work, so it's just, you know, it's just one of those things. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. And then the last segment that we get before the Wraparound ends was the Hammer of Zanzibar, which is by director Alejandro Brujas, who has done One of the Dead and quite a few other different shorts and things. And Mike Mendez also helped produce this one too, and even do a bit role in the film. It's essentially about this guy who's dealing with some sort of curse. Would a group of his friends get cursed and he's like meeting up with one of his friends at a bar and things go haywire. You've got Jonah Ray Rodriguez, who a lot of people probably know from the Mystery Science Theater 3000 guy on Netflix. He replaced the Joel and Mike for the newer series. He's a fun actor and he does some fun things in this. He even actually wrote a song in this movie called I Want to Kill You, or Kill You. But he sang and produced the song in this. Actually, a couple of the segments have like songs that were catered for the specific story. So it's kind of interesting. Nothing, you know, extravagant, but just kind of silly and fun. This one was probably one of the more funnier ones in the whole batch of different shorts. And it kind of involves about that curse thing I was telling you about and his adventures of how he's fighting all these things. So they kind of jump around a little bit. There's a particular tool. The Hammer of Zanzibar will really probably surprise you as to what that tool is. Definitely a little bit more on the sillier side. It was a nice one to end on for the anthology before we do the Wraparound with the Traveler from the first one. This one shows a little bit of its money issues, you know, because these anthologies, they never really get a lot of money. So it's really just trying to do your best to make this thing look the best it can for the, you know, short time that you have to get this. And I thought it was pretty clever with how it dealt with that and some sort of camera techniques and things. But, you know, there is a little bit of rough around the edges stuff here, but the comedy kind of keeps you entertained enough. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all of the different segments. I would say that, you know, a lot of the segments were not amazing, but they were decent and fun. The majority of these had a little bit of blood and gore in them, although, you know, some of them is a little bit CGI, but there is some monster effects and creature effects that they did kind of foot the bill on to make this look pretty cool. Some of the creature effects was cool. Some of it was okay. Some of it was like really weird and freaky, but you know, I think overall, I think they did a pretty decent job with the budget that they had. I did appreciate seeing gore in the films. So, you know, it is in there. Definitely not the best shorts I've ever seen, but you know, it's still pretty fun to watch. I definitely really enjoyed the Demian Rugna one, which was the second short that we get called Tambien Lo Vi. I would say that's probably my favorite. Then I would say The Traveler is my second favorite, mostly because of Efren's performance. Then I would say The Hammer of Zanzibar is probably my third favorite. El Vampiro is my fourth. And then, of course, The Nahales by Gigi Saul Guerra. That was probably my least favorite of the bunch. Half and half a little bit, you know? Like, there's going to be some fun to have here, but it's not going to, like, blow you away. I think all the shorts were decent in what they had. I would like to collect this and put it up in my collection because I do like anthologies, and it's pretty hard to find like an anthology that is just 100% across the board as far as shorts. This one I think is probably about a 7 out of 10. It is nothing amazing, but it does work pretty hard for the money that it does have. And I think it's got a lot of really great like actors and talent and directors in it to add to your collection. So if you haven't seen it, you can actually rent it on the VOD, so Amazon and all your regular digital outlets, or you can pre-order the Blu-ray, which is coming out in December, like the 12th or something like that. And it's only $14. I'll put a link down below so you can pre-order it if you'd like to get it. Some people might think it's a little lower, but I think the ingenuity here is pretty fun, and I like the tone of a lot of the different shorts that are in here. You might, land at a 6. You could be at a 7, but, for me, I think it definitely deserves at least a 6.5 or a 7. But yeah, if you're interested in checking it out, definitely give it a whirl online. You can do it now. I think it's coming to a streaming service in January, but yeah, why wait? If you're a Demi and Rugna fan, you should definitely check that one out at least. But yeah, let me know what you think about this anthology. Did you get to catch it in the theater? Have you already rented it, or are you gonna pick it up on Blu-ray? Let me know in the comment section down below. Really appreciate you guys' support. I hope you had a great holiday, and we're gonna get back on track and get a lot more videos and physical media and new movies and things before the end of the year when we do our top 20, by the way. So 20-ish. So we'll see what it is, but thanks for coming by, guys. And as always, long live the void.